The court creaked open its doors on a crisp November morning in Durban, welcoming observers, legal teams, and a sense of historical gravity that felt almost tangible. Inside the stately chamber of the KwaZulu-Natal High Court, the air was thick with expectation. At the heart of the drama was a trial that blends politics, social theatre, and the echoes of unrest. The case against Duduzile Zuma, daughter of a former president, accused of incitement of terrorism and violence in connection with the July 2021 riots that shook South Africa's provinces of KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. The courtroom stood as both arena and mirror, reflecting the charged cultural and political fault lines of the country, while adjudicating the fine lines between free speech, public responsibility, and criminal incitement. On this day, the spotlight turned to a central figure in the state's case, Sarah Jane Trent, a fraud examiner with the NGO Forensics for Justice. Representing the state's effort to hold Ms. Zuma to account, her testimony opened a fissure in the proceedings that soon widened under cross-examination. Across the aisle stood Mpofu, the defense advocate, probing questions with the precision and persistence of someone unearthing archaeological layers. He accused the witness of evasiveness, of dodging questions, of failing to segregate truth from falsehood in the murky realm of social media postings. Witness and advocate danced, or clashed, on the courtroom floor, while the judge hovered as the referee whose interventions punctuated the fray. The background to the trial is heavy with consequence. The July 2021 unrest gripped KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng, leaving more than 300 people dead and damaged totaling billions of rand. At the heart of the state's case lies the allegation that Ms. Zuma, an MP for the MK party, used her social media platform on X, formerly Twitter, to encourage violence and looting following her father's imprisonment for contempt of the Constitutional Court. Ms. Zuma has pleaded not guilty. Her defense contends she is being unfairly targeted, given both her own political role and her father's legacy. In the courtroom, Trent's role was pivotal. She had submitted affidavits, laid charges on behalf of her NGO, and filed a case implicating the MP. Mr. Mpofu's line of attack was clear. Trent had submitted 2 additional affidavits that were not produced in court. When questioned, Trent admitted to being unsure why these documents weren't entered into evidence. Was she acting on behalf of her employer? Was the complainant truly the NGO, or her personally? "It's myself," she initially replied when pressed by Mpofu. The judge, Mbazini Mathendwa, intervened to clarify. Did she act in a representative capacity? "I guess you could say a representative capacity," Trent responded, and Mpofu countered sharply. "You guess." Such moments, while procedural, suggest the contours of something deeper. The question of institutional versus individual responsibility, of transparency in the state's case, of whether the layers of social media analytics have been sufficiently peeled back to reveal truth. Mpofu then turned to the core of the case, the alleged incitement via social media and the role of fake accounts. Trent's affidavit asserted that a claim by Ms. Zuma, that the posts in question sprang from a fake X account, was pertinently untrue. The defense, however, had earlier introduced testimony by Major General Gopal Govender, head of the Hawks in Limpopo, who testified that there were indeed 2 fake X accounts purporting to be that of Ms. Zuma. The defense's position was unambiguous. If the account was not hers, or if fake accounts were involved, the state's causative link between her actions and the unrest might be undermined. Trent appeared uncertain. "I can't recall," she said when asked if some tweets were from the fake account. "So the real complainant is the NGO?" Mpofu asked. "It's myself," replied Trent, generating further ripples in a trial already awash with political currents. "Between the two of you, who was giving a false statement?" Mpofu challenged. The question was blunt. Trent seemed flustered, striving to disentangle her language. "You're saying that there was a fake account that was posting certain things and that I am saying that it was her account that posted those things," she said. "I never said anything like that," Mpofu retorted. The cross-examination sharpened into a duel of semantics, memory, institutional affiliation, and social media forensics. The judge, again, interceded, reminding Trent of her earlier testimony about her role in opening cases. Yet the defense pressed. The witness had failed to separate genuine tweets from fake ones. She had lumped them together as a body of tweets, fake and genuine, all put together, Mpofu argued. The witness maintained that all the posts she included came from one account, her stance offering a fulsome target for scrutiny. What this moment reveals is not simply a procedural tangle. It illustrates the challenges modern courts face when dealing with digital evidence, identity masquerades, and the speed of social media amplification. Fake accounts, claim and counterclaim, forensic statements and affidavits. The courtroom becomes a battleground, and the evidence is as much bytes as it is words. Behind the legal jargon lies a larger canvas. Ms. Zuma Sambudla's case is emblematic of a generational shift in South African politics and journalism, where social media posts can spark national crises, where the daughter of a former president faces charges of incitement, and where legal teams debate the very authenticity of posts. The courtroom's choreography speaks to a broader tension between public accountability and political persecution, between freedom of expression and incitement of violence. For Ms. Zuma Sambudla, the charge sheet is not just legal, it is symbolic. For the state, the trial is a litmus test of its ability to parse digital evidence, assign causality in the realm of social unrest, and assert the rule of law. From the vantage of the gallery, the trial offers theatre. Mr. Mpofu's cross-examination was both forensic and theatrical, the witness Trent alternately evasive and cooperative, the judge the steady anchor in turbulent seas. Outside, the press recorded, the public speculated, and the political echoes lived on. The former president's name loomed as shadow and spectacle. His daughter stood in the glare, defending her rights, her record, and her reputation. Whether innocence or guilt, the case is already part of historical memory. One cannot ignore the emotional tenor of the trial: grief for the lives lost in the 2021 unrest, anger over looting and violence, fear of unrest replicating. Within that ambience, legal arguments about fake accounts and affidavits feel almost abstract, but those abstractions carry very concrete stakes. The question at the heart: did Ms. Zuma Sambudla's public posts contribute materially to the riots? Did the use of social media by a prominent figure cross the line from free political speech to criminal incitement? And if the account was fake or postings misattributed, does the state's case unravel? The notion of responsibility, personal, institutional, and digital, pervades the courtroom. Trent's foundational role in initiating the case raises questions. Was she acting as an independent citizen, or as part of an NGO with clients and policy stance? The intertwining of a non-governmental forensic body with criminal prosecution is itself reflective of modern complexity. When a rich set of tweets, retweets, likes and posts is laid before a judge, what is the standard of credibility? How does one separate the wheat from the chaff? Mr. Mpofu raised it, a metaphor from harvest, the process of sifting truth from noise. According to his submission, the witness did not perform that sift. Instead, she bundled together unverified posts and alleged incitement as if one homogeneous whole. For her part, Trent's narrative was that she drafted the statement, signed it, and initiated the case. She said, "In forensics for justice, if we see something and we think we should open a case, then we'll open the case." The phrase evokes a kind of forensic instinct, but also invites scrutiny of objectivity. "The case was opened based on my statement," she said. And when pressed, "Is it we or I who opened the case?" Trent answered, "The case was opened based on my statement." The distinction may appear subtle, yet it highlights how the role of the individual and the institution merge in modern prosecution, especially in themes of digital evidence. In a sense, this trial encapsulates broader questions facing legal systems worldwide. The engine of social media implodes traditional chains of causation. A tweet, a hashtag, a retweet can ripple into violence, or may simply be a bystander in semantics. Public figures, especially in politically volatile contexts, operate in arenas where the margin between speech and incitement is razor-thin. The courtroom becomes a map of those boundaries, and the lines drawn here may influence future cases in South Africa and beyond. As the trial continues toward its scheduled end on the 20th of November, the path ahead is uncertain but full of promise for legal precedent. Ms. Zuma Sambudla sits not only under the weight of the charge sheet but under the gaze of history. What will be the standard for attributing violent outcomes to social media statements? Will the state withstand the challenge posed by the defense to the authenticity of the account, the precision of the affidavit, the clarity of the evidence? These are procedural questions with human consequences. For the public, the stakes are also personal. In the scrolling of social feeds, in the viral outburst of anger and resentment, in our national memory of the July 2021 unrest, this trial resonates. It signals to anyone who wields a powerful public platform that accountability may follow, not just from an audience but from a courtroom. Whether in the digital forest of fake accounts or the tangible ruins of looting and loss, the law seeks to map intention, responsibility, and consequence. The trial's rhythm also tells a story of the intersection between legacy and contemporary politics. Ms. Zuma Sambudla, as daughter of Jacob Zuma, occupies a unique position. Her public identity tied to familial legacy, her political role tied to a volatile era. Her defense claims she is being targeted because of who her father is. The state will argue that neither her lineage nor her last name afford immunity. The courtroom thus becomes territory where personal history and public interest collide. From a broader vantage, the case reveals the trajectories of South Africa's democracy. It raises questions about how the justice system navigates high-profile political trials, how forensic experts engage with social media evidence, how legal actors parse the symbolic from the concrete, and how citizens understand accountability in digital age. The case is more than a trial. It is a moment for jurisprudence and for national reflection. We glimpse the human moments in the courtroom too. The witness shifting in her seat, the advocate leaning forward, the judge pausing to issue clarifying remarks, the gallery holding its breath. These are the mechanics of litigation, but they are also part of theatre. Justice, after all, involves performance as much as procedure. The words fake account, affidavit, incitement, not guilty reverberate beyond the bar, entering public discourse, comment threads, news cycles. And yet, amidst the legalism, there is something deeply human. The loss experienced during the 2021 unrest, the grief of families whose lives were torn apart, the financial damage, the questioning of societal bonds. The trial cannot reverse those losses. What it can do is attempt to stabilize meaning, to ask, who set the spark? Who fanned the flame? And who should be held responsible? That is the weight that enters the courtroom every day. As the defense and prosecution prepare for the next phases, the tone is cautious but charged. The judge will need to rule on matters of evidence, on the relevance of social media attribution, on whether the posts in question were authored by the accused or by imposters. The legal standard remains high. Guilt must be beyond reasonable doubt. The defense's strategy of undermining the witness's credibility by exposing ambiguity in the affidavit and social media chain may shift the balance. For the accused, Ms. Zuma Sambudla, regardless of outcome, this trial will mark her political and personal life. A conviction would be momentous. A not guilty verdict would reverberate just as strongly in public discourse. For the state, securing a conviction would be seen as a reaffirmation of the rule of law in times of unrest. Failure might prompt questions about the capacity of the justice system to handle digitally inflected political trials. In the end, this is also a story of the time we live in, where digital footprints matter, where public figures are scrutinized not only for their speeches but for their tweets, where forensic NGOs step into criminal prosecutions, where courts grapple with the new terrain of social media evidence. The law is stretching to meet this new frontier, and this trial is one of its test cases. As we watch the proceedings continue, we observe not only legal argument but a narrative of our society, its resilience, its fractures, its yearning for accountability, its struggle with truth in an age of fake accounts. The courtroom, though secluded, is connected to the square, to the feed, to the township, to the city that remembers the flames of 2021. So the trial goes on. The witness returns to testify. The advocate continues to probe. The judge hears arguments and rules on admissibility. The public watches, quietly and loudly. And the state, the woman on trial, the lawyers, the forensic analysts, each plays their part in a story that unfolds not only in the courtroom, but in the collective memory of a nation. We don't yet know how the tale will end. But we do know this: the questions posed here will reverberate for years. Did the accused tweet with intent to incite violence? Were those social media posts hers? Were fake accounts used to misattribute those posts? And when unrest erupted, could the action be traced to digital utterance? These are the questions the law is asking, and the answers may help define how South Africa handles similar cases in the future. For now, the trial continues its course, a high-stakes drama of law, legacy, and social media, set against a national backdrop of unrest and political evolution. The courtroom lights may be bright, but the shadows of events past linger in every exchange. And in those moments, between question and answer, between dip of witness and flinch of lawyer, we see the shape of a democracy wrestling with its tools, its past and its future.